Hey gang, today I want to talk about something called additive comparisons. It's a type of word problem that you're going to get. And in this kind of word problem, you're going to have two things that are going to be compared to one another. It could be two people, it could be two different groups, but you're going to have two things that are being compared. You're going to know one thing. You're going to get the information for one of the things, and then for the other one, you're going to have to use that thing you know plus some information. You're either going to have to add to it or you're going to have to subtract from it to figure out what the other thing is. Okay? So in a comparison, you're going to have two things. You're going to have to see which one's bigger, which one's smaller. And that's really important in what we're going to do. Okay? We're going to have to be able to identify what the big number is. Okay? Because in doing this, if we know the big number, then we have to find a smaller one. And you find a smaller one by doing subtraction. You do big number minus the small number, and that will give you another small number. Okay, big minus small gives you small. Okay? On the other hand, if you don't know the big number, if all you know is the small number, to find the big one, then you add. If you know the two small ones, you do small plus small, and that gives you the big number. The big number comes at the end of addition, right? 2 plus 5 equals 7. 7's the big number. Comes at the end, right? 7 minus 5 equals 2. The big number minus the small one, 7 minus 5, gives you another small number. So big minus small equals small. Small plus small equals big. That's important as we're going through this. Let's take a look at a problem and see what I mean. In this problem, it says, James had 403 baseball cards in his collection. James had 116 more cards than Noah. So let's stop there before I worry about any questions. When you get a problem like this, here's what I want you to try to do. I want you to label the two groups or the two people or the two things you're talking about. I've got James and I have Noah. All right, so I'm going to put those on my page. Now what I want you to do is write down what you know. Whose number do I know? Well, I know James's number. It tells me right here. James had 403. So the number for James is 403. Now the next sentence is really important because the next sentence is going to tell me what the big number is. Who's the big number? James or Noah? It's going to be in the next sentence. Here it is. James had 116 more cards than Noah. James has more than Noah. So James is the big number. So I'm going to circle that J because James is the big number. I know the big number. Now if I go back to the thing I said before, I know the big one. So now I have to find a smaller one. So I'm going to subtract. I know the big number. Big number minus small gives me small. So James is the big number. To find Noah, I'm going to do 403 minus 116 because James has the bigger number. I don't want to add them because that would give Noah a bigger number, and it says that James has more. So now I would do the subtraction. 403 minus 116. Well, now you've got to go through your steps of subtraction, right? In the ones place, can I subtract here? I can't. Can I regroup from a 0? I can't. So I've got to come over here to the hundreds place to regroup. Remember that when you're regrouping, you change two places. The first place gets smaller, and the next place gets larger by 10. So I'm going to go smaller here. That's going to be a 3. I'm going to take that 100. I'm going to bring it to the tens place, break it apart. That's going to give me 10 tens. Can I subtract yet in the ones place? I can't. I've got to regroup again. I'm going to go smaller here on that 10. That's going to be a 9. And now my 3 becomes 13. Now that I've regrouped, I can go ahead and get my answer. 13 minus 6 is 7. 9 minus 1 is 8. And 3 minus 1 is 2. And now I know that Noah's number is 287. Now, once you get that, that doesn't mean you're done. You have to pay attention to the questions you're being asked. Now, I wrote 2 questions down here. The first says, how many cards did Noah have? Well, we figured that out, didn't we? It's 287. But what if the question asked this instead? How many cards do the boys have in all? Well, now you got to take in all. In all tells us to do what? Tells us to add, put it together, right? So now I've got to take James's number and Noah's number that I just figured out, and I've got to add them. I have to do that to figure out the total. So I would have to do 403 plus 287 and add them together. 3 and 7 is 10. I'd leave the 0 and carry the 1. 1 and 8 is 9. And 4 and 2 is 6. Together they have 690 cards. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. So let's practice again. In my next problem, it says, Chelsea read 216 pages last week. Sarah read 78 more pages than Chelsea. Let's stop. Label what we have. Okay, we have Chelsea, we have Chelsea, we have Sarah. Whose number do I know? I know Chelsea's right here. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit the highlighter. Okay. I know Chelsea's number right here. Chelsea's 216. Okay? Now, look at the next sentence. It's important. Sarah read 78 more pages than Chelsea. Who read more? Who's got more? Sarah's the big number. Do I know that big number? No. How do you find the big number? How do you find something that's bigger? To find the big one, we want to add small plus small. That will give us the bigger number. Okay? So I want to add. I want to add the 216 plus 78. She has Chelsea's number plus 78 more. So I'm going to do 216 plus 78. I line up my ones place. 6 and 8 is 14. I'm going to leave the 4 and regroup the 1. 7 and 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And there's my 2. Sarah's number is 294. Now, let's pay attention to questions, because that may not be the answer. How many pages did Sarah read last week? We just did that, 294. But what if the question is, how many pages did the girls read all together? All together is another one of those things like in all tells us to add them. So I would take Chelsea's number and Sarah's number, and I would add those, 216 and 294. 6 and 4 is 10. I'd leave the 0 and carry the 1. 9 and 1 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 2 and 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And together the girls read 510 pages. Okay? I label, and then I have to figure out who's the big number, and then I can figure out what to do. If I know the big number, then I'm going to subtract to find the small one. If I don't know the big number, I've got to add to find it. Let's try another one. Let's try another one. Move this over here. Okay. Rolando ran 1,032 yards. He ran 371 yards farther than Lance. How far did Lance run? Let's stop. Who were my two people? Rolando and Lance. Okay. Who do I know? Who did the problem tell me I know? It told me Rolando right here. Rolando ran 1,032 yards. 1,032 yards. Now, the next sentence is important. Am I going to add or am I going to subtract? Let's find out. He ran, who ran? Who's he? Rolando, because that's who we're talking about. He ran 371 yards farther than Lance. He ran farther. The big number is Rolando. Okay, I know the big number. So if I add, I get a bigger one. I know the big number, so now I want to subtract for the smaller one. So I'm going to want to do 1,032 minus 371, and that will tell me how far Lance ran. All right, ones place, 2 minus 1. Can I do that? Sure I can. It's 1. 3 minus 7 I can't do. Can I regroup from the 0? Nope. I've got to regroup over here. I'm going to change 2 places. Smaller, larger. Smaller here, this is 0. The 0 gets bigger, it becomes 10. Can I subtract yet? I can't. I've got to regroup again. So I'm going to go again. Smaller, larger. 10 becomes 9. 3 becomes 13. 13 minus 7 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. 0 comes down. Lance ran 661 yards. Let's look at the question. How far did Lance run? That's what they wanted to know, so that is my answer. Okay, let's try one more. The red fishing boat caught 247 more fish than the blue fishing boat. The red fishing boat caught 892 fish. How many fish were caught in all? What are my two groups in this one? I've got a red boat and a blue boat, right? Red and blue. Which number do I know? Which one do I know, the red one or the blue one? I kind of did it out of order this time. Did you pay attention to that? Did you see it? I did the sentences out of order. It doesn't matter. Because if you take time to label and put the things in, you can find all the information. What do I know? I know the red boat. The red fishing boat caught 892 fish. Tell me right there. Red fishing boat, 892. Now, let's go back to that first sentence and find out which boat is bigger. The red fishing boat caught 247 more fish than the blue one. 247 more. Okay? 247 more. So the red boat is the big one. I know the big number. So what do I want to do to find a smaller one? I want to subtract to find a smaller one. I'm going to do 892. Yikes. 892, and I want to subtract 247. So let's start in the ones place. I have 2 minus 7. Can I do that? I can't. I have to regroup. When you regroup, you change 2 places. Smaller on the first one, larger on the next one. Smaller here is going to be 8. The 2 is going to be 12. Okay? 12 minus 7 is 5. 8 minus 4 is 4. And 8 minus 2 is 6. So the blue boat caught 645 fish. Yay, are we done? I don't know. We better check the question. The question says, how many fish were caught in all? It didn't ask for just the blue boat. It said, how many in all? What do I want to do with these two numbers now, in all? Tell me. Yeah, I want to add now. I want to add. So I'm going to have to take 892, red boat, 645, blue boat. I want to add those together. 2 and 5 is 7. 9 and 4, 13. I saw you counting fingers. 1 and 8 is 9. 9 and 6 is 15. And we get a total of 1,537 fish being caught. Boys and girls, when you have a word problem like this, where you have two groups that are mentioned, two people, two groups, two fishing boats, label. Write down what you know. And then read and find out which group is the bigger group. Do you know the big group? If you do, subtract to find the small one. If you know the smaller group, you have to add to find the big one. Okay? I've got some, if you click on the link, there are some problems for you to practice. If you need to, hit the rewind button, watch it again. Okay? With a little practice, you're going to get there. All right? Work hard. I'm proud of you.